We got a huge flip. Georgia flips Shadarius Toodel from Auburn. So let's bring in Jake Rowe, Dogs HQ. Jake just posted the story. Now he's on the inside scoop. Jake, Georgia really needed a quality linebacker. They get one in Shadarius Toodel, but how are they able to flip him from Auburn?
It's one of those deals, man. It's just kind of chipping away at it, right? And I got to give Steve Wiltfong a lot of credit here. When Shadarius Toodel took an official visit to Georgia weeks and weeks ago, I think Steve went ahead and made a pick because that's kind of where the information was leaning at the time. And Steve, for all of the folks out there that want to talk about RPMs and predictions in today's day and age, Steve does a wonderful job, both him and Chad both, of kind of giving you finding different ways to give you an up-to-date recruitment idea of that recruitment. So Georgia got there. Auburn seemed to kind of steady things back up, but Georgia just kind of kept chipping away, kept kind of going after this one. They're also in the mix for Nick Abrams, and that they want to take at least two inside linebackers in this class. That's kind of the norm for Glenn Schumann. That's why that room looks the way it does, with so much talent in there. But they wanted Toodle, and they just kind of kept letting him know it, and that still matters in today's college football recruiting landscape. I know that the money and ridiculous money can come in at the last minute and render it all useless. But the relationships, the chipping away, the consistency, it does still matter, and that mattered here in this situation for Georgia. Georgia's got a lot to sell when it comes to inside linebackers too.
Yeah, and Georgia just hitting their stride. Kenny Agboko committed on this channel on Tuesday. Today they land Shadarius Toodel. Tomorrow we're gonna have another commitment. Kamari Brooks is going to commit. It could end up going Georgia's way. Is Kamari Brooks still a priority after landing Toodle?
Yeah, absolutely. I think Kamari Brooks, there's a very good chance, Josh, with Georgia taking 3 edge prospects last class, and then Georgia taking the 2027 class in the state of Georgia with LaDamian Guyton and David Jacobs and those guys. There's a very good chance Georgia takes just one edge guy or true edge guy in this class. Now, we all know they'd love to add Tyler Atkinson, which Tyler Atkinson is kind of a Jalen Walker player. He can play some edge. He plays some off-ball linebacker. Georgia would love to kind of structure it that way, I'm sure. But yeah, Kamari Brooks is a very big-time priority for Georgia. Alabama, listen, they've done a tremendous job. Christian Robinson, Georgia grad, played linebacker at Georgia, was a graduate assistant at Georgia. He is a phenomenal recruiter, and he's done a really good job keeping Alabama alive in that one. But it seems the closer we get, unless something really changes, that Georgia's in a good spot there.
Speaking of Georgia being in a good spot, let's talk about a prospect that was on campus or currently still is on campus, running back Jay Lamar. Coming off that Miami visit, there was some smoke that the Canes were in a really good spot, but back in Athens this weekend, Jay Lamar seems like a priority for the Bulldogs. What do you think coming out of this one?
This one's tough because, there was a time where Jay Lamar was telling anybody and everybody that Georgia was his leader, right? Like he was the guy that, you felt really good about 3 or 4 months ago, so much to the point of, hey, who are we going to get, talking from the fan perspective, who are we going to get to go with Jay Lamar as far as running back in this class? Can you get Savion Hyder? Can you get Derek Cooper? Well, Jay Lamar has risen to the top of a lot of people's running back board at this point, and he is very much respected and appreciated as far as, running backs in this class. So, I do think Georgia will be tough to beat here. I heard a little bit of buzz out of this official visit, not a ton, that Georgia has kind of made a move and has got some things going in the right direction. But listen, Miami loves this kid, and we've seen what Miami will do when it loves a guy. And Jay Lamar's one of those. So, I suspect that him and Derek Cooper are probably going to end up going in 2 different directions, and seems like the same 2 schools might be in the best shape to land those 2 guys.
Yeah, it does feel that way. Now, is running back Amari Latimer still a priority if Lamar jumps on board?
Josh, that's something time's going to tell us, I think. What is Georgia going to do with this running back situation? Because, they've got a bigger running back room than they normally have right now. Just the one that exists on campus, I think, is like 7 or 8 deep, and normally they're at like 5. So how are they going to handle that? Now, they went into the transfer portal this past year, and they got the kid Josh McCray from Illinois. He's an Alabama native, and they pulled him out of there. So I could totally see Georgia getting Jay Lamar or Derek Cooper or whoever they decide to get, and just being like, all right, let's see how the running back position shakes out on our campus throughout the season, and look at the portal whenever it comes around, if the portal is needed. Because if Nate Frazier and Nate Frazier's going to be, he's got eligibility left coming back. Bo Walker was a big surprise for spring practice. Roderick Robinson's trying to come back from another injury. They've got Chauncey Bowens, they've got Dwight Phillips. If they get the feeling throughout the season that all of those guys are going to stick around, they may or may not need another running back. Or if they get the feeling they do need one, transfer portal's right there, and you can kind of get a guy that may be a little bit more of a known commodity when it comes to receiving out of the backfield, running between the tackles, all of that stuff. They don't have a lot of attrition built in at that position for the moment.
All right. So with the addition of Toodle, does that signify anything in terms of where Georgia feels they stand with Tyler Atkinson?
No, I don't think so. I mean, listen, Texas is involved there, and we all know Texas is a behemoth as far as recruiting goes, and as far as the NIL space goes. They took one from Georgia late last class in Justice Terry, and that Texas is to be respected. But with that said, Tyler Atkinson raved about his official visit to Georgia. He's long been a big time priority of Georgia. Georgia's got a ton to sell here. I mean, flip on the tape of Jalen Carter. This guy's a clone. He's probably a better off-ball linebacker and every bit as good as an edge rusher as Jalen Carter. He's a phenomenal talent. Georgia really wants him. I'm sure it's going to be a very tough battle. But Georgia was taking Shadarius Toodel, 5-6 weeks ago. They're taking Shadarius Toodel now. They would take him in 5-6 more weeks. I don't think it really has anything to do with Tyler Atkinson, because Georgia does want at least 2 off-ball linebackers in this class.
All right. Well, a huge weekend for Georgia, probably only getting started. Go check out Dogs HQ for more. Jake Rowe, busy day on the site. Thank you for dropping by the Inside Scoop.
Anytime, Josh. Appreciate you, buddy.
Georgia fans, how we feeling? Who could be next? Is it going to be Kamari Brooks? Let us know in the chat.